Thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to be talking about Aeon Flux. I might make a small assumption here that if you're watching this video, you know who Aeon Flux is. Otherwise, why click on it? But for those of you that are not in the know, let me just kind of go into this for just a moment. Bear with me. Aeon Flux is an amazing character from a cartoon series on MTV that came on roughly in around mid-90s or so. I was a young teenager at the point, and I gotta tell you, MTV was just not welcome in our household. My dad just hated anything really kind of related to music in general, and didn't really understand its necessity in the background of anything that we did in our lives. So MTV was pretty much banned from our TV. But my little brother and I occasionally had opportunities to watch it, or sneak in a little bit of viewing pleasure here and there when the parents were out to dinner or something like that. And it was around this time MTV actually showed music videos, but occasionally would break away from that format and do something like local television, some kind of experimental animation. And Aeon Flux was one of the success stories and one of the little pieces of experimental animation they tried out. Now, a couple little things about Aeon you might want to know. For starters, Aeon Flux is a very unusual thing in the sense that a lot of animation is usually based on comedy, and this was not comedy at all. This was kind of dramatic spy thriller type stuff. You watch it once, it bears rewatching, because sometimes it's got some heady topics in there that are a little bit difficult to understand on a first pass. I don't know, maybe that was just me. But I do remember having a VHS copy of it that I ended up buying at some point or another, and I watched it over and over and over again and got a lot more out of it from some of the rewatchings than I ever understood from the first couple of tries to go through it. I digress, though. Here's what you may want to know. The guy that invented Aeon Flux, and obviously the lead animator there, was a gentleman by the name of Peter Chung. And Peter Chung got some kind of fame in the industry by being one of the animators on the Rugrats TV series from Nickelodeon. Now, he has said this in a couple different interviews, so I want to kind of trust my sources on this. But Peter Chung has said on more than one occasion that one of the kind of frustrating things about working on Rugrats was animating the small children with the very stunted and short arms and legs, and he found this to be kind of stifling creatively. So, moving on to another project, in this case Aeon Flux, he kind of just, went for it and really exaggerated and took license with the anatomy, especially with these long, slender limbs and just in general these long, slender bodies. And the characters here always kind of struck me as almost spider-like in their anatomy. This, again, was a very poignant time in my childhood, because when I was watching this, I was also studying human anatomy for myself and for my own drawing exercises. And so seeing somebody exaggerate the human figure so much, and that was kind of the thing. All these characters were just extremely tall, extremely slender, very, very long limbs, very bony. Hip bones especially were very prominent on a lot of these characters, even though you can't really see it here. I tried to emulate that a little bit in the drawing that I'm doing. I'm doing it more in my style. I have kind of a way of drawing my figures, and I just kind of went with that flow. But I did at least try to kind of extend some of the limbs out a little bit, very similar to what Peter Chung did in his series. Now, I gotta be honest, I don't know what happened to Aeon Flux. It was a fascinating cartoon. Like I said, it bears watching and rewatching. I think it kind of developed a little bit of a following, but not nearly the cult following that you see with some of the other stuff that kind of gets a lot of attention these days. But here's the thing, it did get a movie. So Aeon Flux was on MTV roughly around the mid-90s or so. And then roughly about 10 years later, in the early 2000s, Charlize Theron starred in a live-action version of Aeon Flux that I got to tell you, I don't really remember much of, other than it existed. I actually had to look up what year it came out. So, what does that really mean? Well, I got to tell you, I guess it was a ho-hum movie that it didn't really succeed very well, and I could probably imagine why. The big takeaway that I think I got from the movie was that it really just didn't capture what made Aeon Flux the cartoon so amazing. Part of that was just the unusual style of animation and unusual camera angles that the director chose to kind of employ there. But there was also a single element that I thought was really kind of interesting, which was the dialogue. The title of this piece is called Ready for the Action Now, Danger Boy. It's a popular quote, something that Aeon says once in the series. So why is this so popular? Well, it's one of the few instances where anybody talks throughout the entire cartoon series. There is dialogue, but it's very, very short. There's not much of it going on, and there are some episodes that have no actual words at all. And that's kind of the beauty of it. Peter Chung told an amazing story, not only through animation and through music, but through the emotions and through the posturing of the characters on the screen. Dialogue, when was used sparsely, and so a lot of story was told just through the skill of the art, and I think that's just an amazing thing to kind of speak to. The live action movie, being a Hollywood kind of big budget deal, obviously didn't go that route. You don't have the salary that Charlize Theron pulls down and then ask her not to talk throughout the entire thing. So I don't think it was necessarily successful, and I don't think it really kind of captured what made Aeon Flux so special to begin with. So maybe that's why we don't hear anything about Aeon Flux anymore, because the movie was such a disappointment. There wasn't really anything to be said after that. Everybody just kind of walked away from it and said, well, I guess that's all there is. But for this brief, shining moment in time, we had an amazing piece of animation. And this animation floored me so much that it really kind of made an impression, and it evoked some inspiration today. So I hope you enjoy what I kind of put together here. Maybe if you haven't seen me, you'll go and look for some Aeon Flux on another YouTube channel or somewhere else on the internet. And while I got you on the line here, I'm going to take a moment and do my shameless plug. So please take a moment, if you haven't done so already, subscribe. More importantly, share with a friend, get them to subscribe as well. In addition, I'm going to be posting some more content soon. But if you have any questions about anything I've done so far or anything you'd like to see in the future, please leave it in the comments. I employed a lot of new techniques in this video that I'm not necessarily speaking to, like how I rendered the hair is a little bit something new. I think I had some experiments that gave some measured success. I also tried some relatively new painting methods as well. And again, if you're curious about any of that, leave questions in the comments. I'll make videos on them in the future. I got a couple of ideas of some things I'm working on here, but I'm really curious to see what you want to hear about, and so that way I can kind of address any questions you may have. Thanks again for stopping by. I'll let you enjoy the music. Have a great time. Bye-bye.